This presentation is brought to you by the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists as a service to the engineering profession. What we do is we present, we record this, and then you can ask questions, but I'm asking you to please not ask more than one question because there's already 84 people on board. So if you ask too many questions, then other people don't get a chance. But if you have a burning issue, okay, maybe we'll allow 2 questions. But you're welcome. Nice to have you all on board, guys, and let's proceed. Our presenter today is Chris Maynard. He's a professional engineering technologist. He's also registered as a professional technician, and he's an honorary fellow of IPET. He's a member of the Society for Asphalt Technology and is a member of the Institution of Civil Engineering. For Engineering Council as a volunteer. He's an assessor, he's also an interviewer, and he's also a moderator. So he does the whole bang shoot. So Chris, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Johan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody attending. Today, what we're going to do is just discuss how I'll get quite a lot of queries about how to go about candidacy. And then also I'll discuss the registration process that is explained. Why I do the registration process to explain it, to understand it's not easy to appeal because it's a big process we go through. And basically at the end, you only see maybe 3 people, but you don't know what's going on in the background. Okay, Johan, now right, the disclaimer that we're going to talk, this presentation and discussion have been made available in good faith for the use of prospective applicants for professional registration at the Engineering Council of South Africa, which is ECSA. We have tried to make the material as accurate and reliable as possible. We do not guarantee, please note, registration on the strength of the following the directives and guidelines discussed in this webinar and this material supplied. ECSA registration process is a peer review system, and your registration is wholly dependent on you having met all the outcomes and on your ability to describe this to the assessors in a manner satisfactory to them. Applicants make use of this material at their own risk, and we take no responsibility for the outcome of the application of ECSA registration based on the content of this presentation. Okay, next slide, Johan.
Thank you, Chris. Just to mention, at the end, we will give a link to where you can access all the previous webinars. And so just have a pencil ready to write it down, a pen ready to write it down.
Okay, my introduction. It's a problems faced with all starting the registration, how to register as a candidate. Then you got your background, candidate benchmark qualification for technicians, candidate benchmark qualification for technologists, and candidate benchmark qualification for engineers. And the short discussion on appeal for ECSA decision has been changed to registration process explained, and then the conclusion and acknowledgements. Okay, the background is how to register the candidate at ECSA. This is quite a problem, but look at there, you first download the registration application form at the following website. It's there, it's written as www.exa.co.za. You go under the documents folder and the side page, and you scroll down to the documents there. Under heading 3, registration 3.1 of all categories download is an application form. It's written registration as a candidate engineer. Please don't be misled by that candidate engineer. It's also for technologists and it's also for technicians. You'll see just now while I show. Okay, check the required benchmark qualifications for technologists and technicians that you find in the ECSA policy document R02, STA, PE, PT, and PN. Now, PE is for professional engineer, PT is professional technologist, and PN is professional technician, not technologist. It's for technician there. That's just a correction there. Okay, here you'll see what it is there. Once you go under ECSA document, you scroll down to registration number 3.1, all categories, then you'll see application form, registration as candidate engineer. This one you download. Now, this is the form that you see. Although it's written there on that 3.1 there as candidate engineer, it's actually an application form for registration as a candidate. If you look there, you choose your application for registration as, you tick candidate engineer, or you tick candidate technologist, or you tick candidate engineer there as a candidate certificate engineer, candidate engineering technician, or candidate specified category. We are only interested in, on this talk, on the engineer, technologist, and technician. Okay, candidate benchmark qualifications for technician. If you look at that form that I showed the previous slide, it gives one or two benchmarks. But because of the new curriculum, it has changed now. Because there, now for technicians, you find it in policy document R02 STAPN under Appendix B, registration as a professional engineering technician, post qualifications, page 37. You will see there are 4 benchmarks. So it's advanced certificate, engineering practical is your benchmark, the one. Your national diploma benchmark, your diploma in engineering benchmark, diploma engineering technician benchmark. So it's those 4 that you get, can be registered as a candidate technician. If you look here, on that, I've just taken all the others out and I've just shown which are your benchmark. Now, your benchmark qualification is 3 years experience after your qualification with 1 year experience at level E. I'm not going to discuss that. If you look at it, it's 4 qualifications as what I discussed there. That you will find on page 37 of Appendix B, a registration as a professional engineering technician post-qualification. Now, engineering technologist, it's also the ECSA policy document R02 STA under the PT, and that you also find in Appendix B, and that is your post-technologist, post-qualifications, page 35. So it is your BTech, is your benchmark, advanced diploma in engineering benchmark, and the BEng Tech benchmark. It's only 3 that is there applicable. If you look on the next slide that is coming up, you will see there are the 3 that is there. So you got your BTech, your advanced diploma engineering, and your BEng Tech. These are the only 3 that you can register as a candidate technologist. Okay, next page.
Chris, I think we just need to mention that the BTech is phased out. Although it's still accepted by ECSA as a benchmark qualification, you cannot enroll for a BTech anymore. You must either do the advanced diploma in engineering or the BEng Tech. Those are the 2 qualifications that you can actually do at the moment at the University of Technology.
Okay. All right. Okay, then you get your candidate benchmark qualification for professional engineer. Now, this is not on the document R02. This you find on the policy document E/02PE, which is qualification standards for a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, BSc Eng, Bachelor of Engineering BEng, NQ of level 8 on page 14. If you look there, you've got your BEng, a Bachelor of Engineering, BSc Engineering is your Bachelor of Science, and your BEng, it's your Bachelor's Ingegneria. I'm not Italian, but anyway, I'm in Latin, but that's a Latin word. But there is one thing that has to be there with that before it can be accepted. You can have a Bachelor of Engineering, but it must say all of these have to have a disciplinary description, like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, or civil engineering, or chemical engineering, It has to have that. Otherwise, you cannot register as a candidate engineer at ECSA for candidacy. Next slide.
Chris, question, and what it means is that with a qualification, a non-South African accredited qualification, you cannot register as a professional as a candidate engineer. Am I correct?
You cannot register as a professional engineer, a candidate engineer, technician, or technologist at all. That's what I understand. You cannot.
So you have to have a South African qualification.
Must be a South African qualification. That's correct. That's what I understand. All right, now we're going to go to another very sore point on a lot of people, what they don't understand the ECSA assessment process. Now I'm going to look at that. You've got basically a few stages you have to go through to get to professional review stage, which is your last stage. Your initial stage is your experience assessment of documentary evidence supplied by the applicant. This is your whole application. There gets given to 4 independent assessors, and it gets sent to us via email. We don't know who the other assessors are, and we independently assess those written reports. Once they are done, each independent assessor sends it back to the registration administrator, who collects all 4. We've got a certain time frame that we have to do this. So we do not get this form and tomorrow they want. They give us a certain time because we do this in our own free time. So don't expect when you do your application, you're going to get tomorrow, you're going to get registered. No, it goes through a whole process. All of us that are assessors, moderators, and reviewers and interviewers, we do this in our own free time. We do it voluntary. Okay, next slide, Johan.
Chris, are you saying that the four assessors, they cannot discuss amongst each other and come to a decision?
Under no circumstances. You're independent, you assess it independently. Okay, what happens now? The registration administrator will select 2 moderators to moderate the assessment reports received and submit their recommendations back to the registration administrator. Now, the assessor that was doing the assessment cannot do the moderations. It's 2 different independent persons who do the moderations. So, the moderator has a choice. He goes through all the documentation. He goes through the experience documentation that is received. He goes through the assessor's reports, and then he makes his decision based on all the evidence that is submitted to him. So he's got a choice. He can either recommend directly to professional review, or to experience interview. Now, the difference between the 2 is professional review is on all 11 outcomes. Experience interview, if it is recommended, the applicant will be interviewed on the outcomes that there is information lacking. What I mean by information lacking, it isn't well written or there's something missing in your application form, in your engineering report, and it cannot be brought up. Okay, usually this is done with 3 interviewers. These are neither people who did the assessment or who did the moderation. So they're all independent, they're all different. We're all different there. And sometimes it can happen due to the internet, or you will maybe done by 3 interviews, or you can have 2. But if it's 2 interviewers, the registration administrator will ask you if it is fine. You can say yes or you say no. Then the registration process will be stopped, and then they will get another date for the interview if you want that. So it is up to you, but we are allowed to have 2. Okay, once this has been finished on for that report, all 2 or 3 fill in the report. It's one report, and each person will say yes or no, and then it will be discussed after the interview. If the person, the applicant, is fine to go through to professional review, or you have another form there to say, yes, we go, the applicant is almost there, but he needs a bit of more time to work on the outcomes that is not discussed properly. And then he can be put in abeyance for 12 months. In those 12 months, you can go and rectify what is shortcoming there, if you get it. Or the third thing, you can be deferred completely. And that does happen, where you say, this person is not even on the level of the work that they should be done. So if it is positive, you go to professional review. Okay, I'll discuss there the difference between the experience interview and professional review, which was there. But the moderator also, once the interviewers have written their report, it's on a single report, and each one gives their comments. It gets sent to the moderator. It's usually one, but can sometimes be 2 moderators. And they are also independent. They're not the same person from the start of the process. They're completely different. And they will give based on the information they've given there and the recommendation on the interview, they can go through all the evidence and all the other assessors' documents, and then you can say, yes, the person can go ahead as a recommendation given by the interviewers to professional review, or put in abeyance for 12 months, or be deferred and not carry on. Okay, let's go to now the difference between the experience interview and professional review. Next slide, Johan. Your experience interview is to extract further information on certain outcomes that is not clear in your application form, is what I said. In professional review, you are questioned on all 11 outcomes as per ECSA document, RO2, STA, PE, PT, PN, and then also on RO8, CS, Guide, PE, PT, and PN. Now, one of the mistakes a lot of people make is, please do not assume that because you've gone through the experience interview, you will pass the professional review. Forget it. As I explained, the difference is the experience interview is just to find out certain outcomes where there's information lacking. Professional review is the total. So don't make that mistake. And that's where a lot of people fail the professional review, because they do not prepare, because they've got the idea they've passed the experience interview, so professional will be easy. There's a big difference. Next slide, Johan.
What you're saying is the professional review is much more difficult than the experience interview.
It's not more difficult. It's you have to know all your 11 outcomes. Where the experience interview is only 3, 4, might be 5, can be 7, can even be 10 outcomes, but it's only information that is short, that is required. But professional interview is the full interview. So you prepare for that. Okay, in the professional review.
When you do the experience appraisal, there's no presentation that you have to prepare for that at all.
No.
That's only for the professional interview, right?
Yeah.
And then also Yeah. Chris, sometimes the candidates get a letter that that they need more. They seek more information from outcome number 1 to 10, and I have to wonder, how does that happen? Because if there's a
Okay,
lack in all
all right.
10, then geez, how did you get this far?
Okay, listen here. Remember, outcome 1 has got 3 subdivisions. Outcome 2 has got 3, and so forth. They might get one of the areas, like for 1.1 is defining, they get that right. Then they get to 1.2, but there's no information that is short there is, for instance, they don't discuss how they investigated it. But then they get 1.3, the assumptions can be there. They can get, so they get the benefit of the doubt, they just have to explain more. And the interviewers that do that in the experience interview will ask certain questions based on what is lacking. Because we won't tell them, yes, in the letter it's 1.2 or it's 1.3 outstanding. And then in the outcome 2, it's 2.1 that is missing. The interviewers will explain. That's why the person who gets that, for instance, all 10 outcomes, it's small information that is lacking there, which has to explain and supply. Okay, in professional review, there are 3 reviewers who conduct the interview. If only 2 is available, you may decline the interview, as what you can do also in the experience interview. And what it is there, you will be asked if it is fine with 2 reviewers, you can say yes or no. But now, what happens in this professional review is, yeah, you got all the information, you get asked on your presentation, plus you get asked about your design, your engineering report. You will be asked questions on those items there. And it will be due for all 11 outcomes. So if you're doing the designing, outcome 1, you will have to explain there and tell us. Also, what we do is we check to see, through our questioning, we also verify if this is your work or it's not your friend's work that you've taken and you just copied and think you can make it. You're going to fail terribly, because we want to see the individuality of your work, of how you conducted your work at the level of the required level for technician, technologist, and engineer. Okay, now what happens is, once we're done, we do not discuss before the meeting of what we're going to ask, because we're independent. When we do, we greet each other and we carry on. We nominate a person there in the group of us 3 who will be the chairperson, and they will lead that review. And all the reviewers' reports are sent in independently. We do discuss afterwards what did we got, and was a person competent, yes or no. And if they weren't competent, on what outcomes they were lacking. We discuss it. We take 5 minutes, and then we do our reports independently. It gets sent back to the registration administrator, and they will send those reports to 2 moderators. Usually 2 or 1, but it's usually 2 moderators who will moderate, and whatever we recommended, they will verify or they will disagree with us. With that moderation, they will send it back to the registration administrator, who will then submit a letter correspondence to you after it has gone to the registration council. I mean, the registration committee, and then you will get a notification of the outcome. So, must I tell you, all assessors, interviewers, moderators, and reviewers are practicing in the field you are practicing in. Remember, this is a peer review process. So don't say the reviewers and the interviewers didn't know what they're doing. Many times we might be quiet because the questions that we've already formed in our minds, the other reviewer or the interviewer has already asked it. So we do not labor on that. In the whole process, each person is only used once. Okay. So you won't be using it. A person who does the assessment will come and do the interview. Because we've got a pool of ECSA has got a pool of volunteers. We all volunteer this. Another thing too is we are all trained as assessors, moderators, and interviewers. If you want to become one of the volunteers, you start as an assessor. Then after you've done a few assessments, they will give you a to do a moderation. If you do well in that, then you will go into interview, but you will be trained as you go. And then every year we have to attend a refresher course on these assessor, moderators, and interviewers to ensure that we are kept up to date with the latest requirements, because they do change yearly. There might be a small thing, but it can have a big implication. Okay, next slide.
Yes, I just want to explain the peer review process a bit. If you are applying as a professional engineering technologist, you get reviewed by professional technologists who are already registered. You're not reviewed by lawyers. You're not reviewed by technicians. You're not reviewed by professional engineers. You are reviewed by other professional technologists. And that is what peer review means. You're not, in other words, as I said, you're not reviewed by doctors or lawyers or anything, or accountants or anything. You are reviewed purely by other people in the group that you are registering for.
Yes,
Okay.
and also in the field that you are practicing, that is very critical. So if you're doing civil engineering, urban designing and urban engineering, you will not get you will not have a mechanical technologist coming to interview with you. It will be a civil person who has also got the experience in urban designing and that. So please, guys, don't think if the guy is not asking you questions and that, think he doesn't know. He's not there just as a body. He listens, and there might have been questions asked that he wanted to ask that have already been covered by one of the reviewers or the interviewers. Next slide, Johan.
I see Jono has got his hand up, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, yeah, you know this happened in the past as well. What is a candidate's right when they rock up there and there's not 3 assessors or reviewers, only 2? That's a one scenario. What are their rights then? And if they get there and the interviewers or reviewers or assessors are not necessarily in that field of practice of the candidate, how do you handle that?
Okay, first things first. If there's, it's usually 3, as what I said above, but a few slides back, you will be asked if it by the administrator, registration administrator, who invited you, is it fine to have 2 reviewers or 2 interviewers? And if you can say yes, or you can say no, it's no problem. Then what will happen is, if you say no, then that interview will be cancelled but not held against you, and you can get another date to go for the interview. If you say yes, there will be no problem. In the documents there, we're allowed to have two also, but
Thanks,
you
Chris.
must be afforded to ask. Then the other thing is what I said there. How do you define that the person doesn't know what he's talking about if he's not in your field? How do you know? Unless you know the person personally, but ECSA, when we do when we apply to become assessors, moderators, and reviewers and interviewers, they asked us in which field do we practice in and where do we have the experience. Then that will be given. Then you mark it and they will only allow you to go into those certain fields. You will not go into a field that you are not comfortable with. Because I know a lot of the applicants that when they do not get registered, they say, but the people didn't ask me a lot of questions, and the questions they asked me wasn't more defined in my field of expertise. How do they know? You understand what I'm saying there, Johan?
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris. Now I'm with you on that one.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to a very, very sore topic for everybody. Appeal of the ECSA decision. Now, what I've discussed is the process of your registration. Now, your application is thoroughly reviewed by 15 of your peers at least. If turned down, there are definite flaws and appeal has a very slim chance of success. Please remember that. Because how can 15 persons be wrong? Go back to the previous slide, Johan.
Yes, sorry, Chris. I don't know what this thing is jumping around. Okay, there
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, thank you. So think about this. If there's 15 people that are gone through and they independent, I'd agree if there were 15 peers and maybe 5 of them or 10 of them went through your report over and over again, or rather say 7.5, and they went right through, or say 7, and they were the same people going through, then it will be flawed. But now at the moment, it is a very, very good system because it is 15 people, 15 different sets of eyes that go through your report. And then they can say yes or no. Now, the biggest problem I've found with a lot of the applicants is when they go through, they can get up to professional review. That's your last step. And when they're there, you find out it's not their work. Because they've written their report so well, they've bypassed the experience interview. Usually, what I find, the guys and the ladies, the people, applicants that have gone through the experience interview and they're well prepared, they usually become registered. But you find the person who goes through the experience interview as maybe 3 or 4 outcomes. Now I'm fine, I don't have to prepare. And when they come in front, they've got a problem. Because the experience interview is not such in depth as what the peer review is. Because in the peer review, we've got certain criteria. The first one is the work the person that is doing, who does the application, is it his work? That's one of the first criteria that I always look at. Secondly, is that person operating at the correct level? Which I mean, is he operating at the technician's level? Is he operating at the technologist level? Or is he operating at the engineer's level? I do not do interviews of engineers or technicians. I do technologists. So these are the things that we look at. And if you are not prepared, you will not make it, because you can't wing it on your own. As I said in the past, it takes you 50 hours to prepare for your documentation to get it right. It might take you 2-3 hours to go through it. But to make sure it's a good document, you're going to write and rewrite continuously until you're happy. All right. Then, what you can do is, if you have been deferred on experience interview or at professional review, you can request an advisory interview. Now, the advisory interview does not cost you anything. In this interview, you can discuss the outcomes that you did not get, where you were lacking. And it's usually one person that did the interview with 2 other independent people. Then you will discuss your outcomes, not the interview that has been done. Not that the people were problems for you and that. No, it will tell you advisory, which means that it advises you where you might have some shortcomings and how to get over those shortcomings, what is required, how to get it, over that mountain that there might be a bit of a stumbling block, how to get through that. And if you ask correct questions, even in the advisory that you get, please don't think just come there and sit and think that the advisors are going to give you. You come prepared with your questions. But it's not to do with the interview that you had. The questions that you got to do there is to do with what the outcomes and what is you suspect is a problem. So that is the advisory. All right. Another thing too is, it's usually afford the opportunity to resubmit your application within 12 months without any cost. In other words, you get a second chance for 3. That's if you are basically, you can do your application, but then you have to go through the whole process. You have to still pay again. It's not for free, your second chance. But the advisory is for free. Then, if you got a bias on experience interview, that you fill in your application on the issues that you want to there, that is still what you pay, that stays. But if you get deferred, you go through the whole process and you pay again. Now on appeal, you have to pay 9,000 Rand. And the chances, as I explained, it's 15 people, that 15 of your peers that went through it. So the chances of getting it overturned are very, very, very slim. So rather, if you don't make it, take your document, go through it, see where you made your mistakes, be very, very objective towards yourself, be very callous with yourself and say, I could have done better here, or I did some mistake there. I see where I've made the mistake. Okay, I see this outcome. I need some more guidance on it. Seek guidance from people who have gone through the process, but rather, if they're not giving the answer, you can contact anybody who has gone through the process and they will explain it to you properly. You can even try and get hold of ECSA to explain one of the assessors. They will also be able to help you many times. And you can also go through, if you've got questions, you'll see at the end of the slide, there's some WhatsApp groups that you can put your question and it will be answered. Okay, conclusion. All right. Okay, in this presentation, we briefly discussed the following: different benchmark qualifications required for the various engineering categories, the process that the application follows, which is very short, and how to proceed if you're turned down, and why not to proceed with the appeal. That's what all that I've discussed tonight. Okay, and the acknowledgement, it's the RO2, which is STA, PE, PT, PN document, and also the PO2 PE qualification standards. That's for the engineers NQF level 8. All right, those are the two documents. It's based on my discussions today. And I'll say thank you. And any questions before we go there, please note, you can go to this website, is HTTPS, whatever double point there with the back / professionalcpd.co.za. There, I've done quite a few discussions on there. There's quite a lot of, there's all my talks I've done already. The videos, you can download them, but please don't be frightened when you see you have to register. You register, it's for free. And you can download those. There's also some courses there that if you need CPD points, you can do also the courses through on professionalcpd.co.za, which is very reasonably priced at your own pace. Next slide. Okay, then iPad services and groups. Please note, there's a WhatsApp number 073-336-2471. This is Johan's number. It's actually for iPad. Johan is the administrator, Johan de Koker. And please note, you can phone as much as you like. He will not answer that phone. So you WhatsApp or you SMS to him. Now, if you want to go for iPad registration advice, for free ECSA registration advice, anybody that wants to register as technician, technologist, or engineer can go to this chat group and get registered. And you take that number there up top and send Johanna WhatsApp or SMS with your name and which group you want to go to, please. All right. Then you can also, if you're without work or you're looking for another job, there is also an iPad job portal, which is also there. It's also a free what we do. And you can also ask Johan to put you on that, or you can go to those websites there. And then, as I discussed, the video tutorials on professional registration and CPD is professionalcpd.co.za. Okay, next slide, Johan.
Chris, before you go on, I'd just like to say that 073 is not my personal number. That's the iPad WhatsApp messages number. That's why I keep that phone, and that is why I don't answer the thing. I don't keep it with me. My personal number, I'm not giving that out. But most of these groups, if you have a question and you're on one of these groups, we try and answer. A lot of people, actually, other people on the group will also help you. I can tell you that the registration advice group has more than 900 people on. The job portal has more than 500 people on. So it's very popular. And so also something else I want to add is that if your appeal to ECSA fails, we've had cases where people now want to appeal to the Council for Built Environment. Now, Council for Built Environment cannot register you. They will only refer you back to ECSA, just as a matter of interest. The next slide is just the disclaimer again. We've read through that. I'm going to leave it on for a moment, and while I'm going to leave that on and then go back to the previous slides that you can write it down. I'm going to look at the chat. What's the name? Chris, questions on the chat was the one person wanted to know about the number of years for professional. If you have the benchmark qualification, what does the 3-in-1 mean? And how can you apply with less than 3 years, can you, before you did your BTech, does that count for you? Please explain that. And the other thing that wants to be explained is, what about the BEng Tech honors? What does that qualify you to register for?
Okay, the first one there, once you've received your BTech, from the day that you receive it, or rather, let's put it this, the letter you receive from the University of Technology says you've now filled in the criteria of so many credits, you are now going to receive your BTech. From that day that you receive that letter, 3 years further, you have to get your experience done. Before that, you can go the alternative route, is usually with your national diploma. It's 8 years of experience with, if I remember right, it's 3 years on level level E. So the 3 years of experience with 1 year at the responsible degree of responsibility of E, which is there you are busy working as a technologist or a technician or as an engineer with no supervision, as if you were there already registered. That's the thing. But if you've got an alternative route, you can go on an alternative route. But if you want to go technologist via the BTech or one of the other diploma, the advanced degree, advanced diploma, or your advanced, your BEng Tech, at least 3 years of experience. Okay. Then the other question, Johan, was?
Now there's some more questions on the chat, and someone wants us to please provide advice on how to prepare adequately for the interviews that we've done previously. Go and look on the website and look at we're not discussing that today, please. Let's see, what else is there?
Somebody is talking
is there
about
a
the work
concession
from,
for registering as a PRN if you have more than 10 years experience? That used to be like that. I don't know what the present situation is, but they've now provided for, ECSA has now provided that you can do this BEng Tech honors and then do a professional master's and then have 3 years experience after that before you can register. So nobody has registered as a PRN on that route yet. We're actually looking at doing a webinar on discussing this whole issue, a whole day webinar. There's a question, is there an avenue to obtain more information why I failed the experience appraisal?
Oh, excuse me. You can't, are your experience a proposal, you can request for advisory interview on that. Are you there, Johan?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, you can request that they give you advisory on that. Why did you fail it? Because you can do that. And they don't do that, but you can actually ask them that a registration administrator, please, is it possible? They will look at it and they will tell you yes or no. Okay.
Sorry, Chris?
Yeah.
I was, sorry, I did ask ECSA for a meeting or for more detail on why I was put into abeyance, but they were quite adamant that all I would get was a letter. Yes.
Okay, if it's in abeyance, hey, you don't get an advisory. Okay. You don't get advisory. If you go and look at your documentation, the correspondence they sent to you, they said to you being put in abeyance, but outcomes 1, 2, and 3, or 5 and 6, you have to work on that. So then you go and look at your document on your outcomes there, what it means with 1, 2, 3. 5 and 6, for instance, and you go and work on that. And then you can also talk to your mentor. If you've got a mentor, if you haven't got a mentor, you can actually ask people that are registered if they can help you. Okay.
I just want to make something clear here, that if you want to register as a professional technologist, you need 3 years after your qualification, of which 1 year must be at level E. That, in other words,
That's
where you
correct.
take full responsibility. To register as a candidate, you do not need to provide a report. You just have to provide your qualification. And you
Bring
can,
up that form
you
there,
register-
Johan. Just
Sorry?
bring up that form. I say bring up that form right at the beginning. I think it's the 4th slide
Yeah,
that I show there, the candidate application form. Just bring that up there.
let me try and go back there. It's going to be a long process. But the point is
Okay.
that you can register as a candidate immediately after you have qualified. You don't have to have any experience to register as a
There's it.
candidate.
Okay. If you read there, candidate engineer, please include a certified copy of your BSc, BEng, or the BEng degree. So you have to give a certified copy of your degree to be allowed. Candidate engineering technologist, it will be your BTech. They say national diploma, but usually that you give a copy of your national diploma, BTech, or your advanced certificate, as what we said there, or advanced certificate practical, if I remember right, and then your BEng Tech. You just give that certified copies of that. Then for your technician is your national diploma and those other 3 benchmark. That's what I discussed there.
One of them.
That's all what you do. You don't have to wait. The moment you get your document to say, I've got my degree, I've got my diploma, I've got my certificate, there's a requirement. You just get it certified and you apply and you tick it on this block. There's no reports you have to write. There's no experience. You are a candidate. Just remember one thing, if you're a candidate, you can't go and write candidate PREng behind there. You can write in full candidate engineer behind your name, or candidate engineering technologist, or candidate engineering technician. You cannot write candidate PR Tech Eng or PR Techni Eng. That's illegal. You have to write candidate engineers in full, or candidate engineering technician, or candidate engineering technologist. That's it. Okay. Any other questions there?
And also, you cannot sign plans or anything like that. You, as a candidate, you are actually still learning to become a professional.
Yeah, you're in training.
Good evening, and thank you for the presentation. My question is, let's say, for instance, one has registered to become a candidate technician, and then you are in the process of studying further, which would be NQF level 7. For instance, your BEng Tech, and so the BTech is phased out. So if one is willing to be a candidate technologist, do they consider the experience that you acquired while you were a candidate technician? Does it form part of your experience to become a technologist, or they count only after you get the technologist qualification?
Okay, you want to become, you want to get your qualification, and then you want to become a candidate technologist. Am I correct?
Yes, to be correct, you acquired NCLEF level 6, which got you to become a candidate technician. Now you're
That's correct,
studying
yeah.
further to become a technologist. So does everything fall off since your registration to become a candidate technician?
Yeah, you
The
can stay a
expe-
candidate technician. You can basically, you will have a dual candidacy. So you won't lose your candidate technician, but you will also be, once you register as a candidate technologist, you'll become a candidate technologist, and the candidate technician will not fall away neither.
But you
Oh.
you will still need 3 years after your
But
qualification
now,
as a technologist to register as a technologist.
yeah,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Sina, you wanted to say?
Yes, something little bit different than, yeah. But I like Chris' presentation was excellent, always excellent, but today also. So what I experienced, Chris and Johan, that during interview, we can't have a body language. We can't see because assessor camera is not working or applicant's camera is not working. So why not? ECSA should move now to face-to-face interview at Bruma as it used to happen. Because now most of the university have started face-to-face teaching and everything. It's a big problem. Last 2 days, I had to postpone many interviews. Yeah, I was chairing, yeah. So,
Okay, you know what? I want to just say, give a comment that's my personal comment now. I found out that when I was doing face-to-face, we only had a lot of the people with Joburg in those areas, for instance, in Gauteng based. The people that were in Cape Town and that, they didn't come
yeah,
up.
for them is a problem, yeah.
Yes, but now I found out actually the camera was much better in the sense. So you're getting it from the whole country doing. But they said or the other day when I spoke to them, they said they want to do some of the interviews on face-to-face and that, because a lot of the applicants, if they, for instance, in Water, which is there in the Bundus or somewhere like that, and they got internet, they can do it. Because when we used to do, when we started with the Teams view with the camera, we started interviewing people in New Zealand, in Australia, the Seychelles. I even interviewed people in Turkey, in Germany, in England, in America. They South Africans, but they're working all over the, in the world. And it's actually made it better for them than to have it, like a face-to-face. But they want to bring some of it into by the face-to-face. But I think the camera is actually widened and it's broadened out for us in that sense. Because if somebody wanted to come for an interview,
hybrid type, they need, yeah, you are right. I also agree. So hybrid type, both. You understand?
yes.
Yeah. And my second view, it is not related to this presentation. What I realized that during peer review interview, applicant has to provide presentation only in 15 minutes, and it's not enough actually. At least it should be half an hour, because they are presenting a minimum 3 projects to demonstrate all the 11 outcomes, and time is not sufficient, I'm telling you. Yeah,
what I
to
said
demonstrate
is,
3 projects. So maybe they should have 30 minutes at least. Yeah.
What I do is I've always discussed this with the people, and I said, you've got your TERs that's there, your training and experience report, or you got your training and experience But you haven't got the, for instance, technicians and technologists, you can go the alternative route. Now, the TER is your brag wall. These are all the projects you've done, because we do evaluate that. It doesn't matter if you're engineering, applying for engineer, technologist, or technician. You evaluate all that in the documentation. When it comes to your engineering report, there are certain, I've picked this up and I've always said this, there are certain interacting things that you have to do, like outcome 1, 2, 3, 9, and 10. They interact with each other. So basically, when somebody is doing a project, they can discuss one of the projects. They don't have to do 3, 4. And if he does it correctly, it's usually 15 to 20, 25 I allow. But if he's starting here with 3 projects that I've had the person, and then they start pushing it for an hour, it gets very boring and that. But if somebody is very good in their presentation and they've done their work well, they will actually shine out and they will catch or draw your attention. You've had applicants like that too, Dr. Sina, that you're actually hanging on their words every time they tell it. But those are the people that take, for instance, just one project and they discuss it, and they discuss it thoroughly in those 15 to 20 minutes. And when you do ask them questions, you might ask them 3, 5, or another 10, 15 minutes, and you're satisfied. You're not going to go because he's already covered the 11 outcomes. But there are some of the guys that I do have interviews with, they actually linger on to make it an hour and a half. If the person has done everything and is satisfied the outcomes, why do you want to linger it on? I don't know, you've also cut a lot of the interviews short too. Am I correct, Dr. Sina? Because they've discussed everything. You can't, but if somebody is discussing 3 or 4 projects on their presentation, it actually starts getting a problem, because then you can't get specific questions out. Then your applicant starts generalizing issues, like saying, oh yes, and this is what we did, and this X, Y, Z, and etc. Then that is already, you know, you've got a problem.
Okay.
And
Patrick,
another thing just the last advice, another thing I realized, you know, that 3 assessors all are in the same field, a structure, and the applicant is in geotech area, because registration officers are admin people. They're not competent to find out who is what is his specialization. It's a very big problem I face whenever I, interviewing applicants. But anyway, we manage.
What I
thanks,
said
please.
is, you'll get somebody in the group that is actually not a specialist, is well versed in that
Knowledgeable
field.
people. You're well knowledgeable,
Because it happens to me that I actually do mining. I do mining interviews, although I'm not trained in mining. I worked underground, I understand the situation. And I apply a lot of mining because I worked with a lot of mining myself, as in civil too. And I was working in the mines also. So that helps. But then you get the other guys that don't know. And another thing too is if I go into an area which I'm a bit very wary of, I actually go through their reports, which you have to, which I always do, and find certain issues there. If I do not find it, I go and talk to people about that are knowledgeable. Like I spoke to you on about rails, which I know how to do it, but I just needed some technology there. So that is nothing wrong with that.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
I am happy.
Okay,
All right,
Patrick, you have a question.
Yes, thanks, Johan. Thank you, Chris. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. My question is this. I'm a candidate engineer technologist. Currently also doing my master. But it's right now that I found something that I'm doing, which is in roof trusses, and I'm under supervision. But prior to that, I have done some work individually. So I need to know, when I reach 3 years, can I still register, or I will have to wait a little bit?
No, your BTEC that you've done, you've
Yes.
registered, so you're a candidate. So just make sure that you are working at the level of a technologist, which is a broadly defined engineering activity. There is in the RO2 that discusses, it's on one of the pages, there's questions that you ask yourself and see if you can answer, you answer them and say, yes, I am, or no, I short this, you can go and do that. But the day you got your degree, your BTEC, from that day, 3 years later, okay? But make sure that you're also working at the responsible level E. Because that document
Thank you so much.
RO2 discusses everything nicely, and also on some of the webinars that I did that have been recorded, discuss everything there for you. Okay, Patrick.
Thank you. I really appreciate. Maybe if I'll need some more advice, I'll come to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Patrick. Lugasani, PR technician or technologist, or what registration you want to do?
Technologist.
Okay, technologist. Okay, the first thing you have to do with your registration, or as a foreign qualification, you must submit it to ECSA. There is a document that you have to fill in, and you submit it to ECSA that they can evaluate that document for you to say, yes, you are working, your document is equal to a BTEC, or it's equal to PR, it's equal to the BSc, or it's equal to your national diploma. They must evaluate that document, your qualification. Once they've done it, they will send you documentation to say, we have evaluated and your qualification is equal to technician, technologist, or engineer, your BSc or BTEC. So once you've got that, then you can go through to the process of registering. Okay. But you can't register as a candidate. Even if they give you the registration, they will tell you, yes, you can register as technologist, or you can register as technician, or sometimes they write there, you can register as technician or technologist. It's your choice there. But you must ensure that you've got the right experience there. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Bumi. My question is, okay, I don't have a full engineering qualification, although I did do some engineering modules from 2019 up until I did all of my BTEC civil engineering qualification, and as well as my master's. So I've been in a government environment whereby I was working for a municipality for more than 9 years under technical services. But then now currently I'm working for ESCOM, of which I am more covering the engineering outcomes. So I just first question is, can I apply as a candidate? And then the second question is, when coming to the experience, should I also consider the experience that I've obtained under the municipal environment, or I should start considering my experience at ESCOM under engineering? Thank you so much.
Okay, there's just one. You've got a BTEC, am I correct?
Yes, I did all the module for BTech in civil engineering.
Just a joke for you. Don't talk about ESCOM now. It's a very sore point for us. So. All right, but okay. So you got your BTech, your 9 years that you worked at the municipality in the engineering infrastructure. There you had your diploma, am I correct? You received your diploma.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I received my BSc in water utilization.
Okay, so you did that by Limpopo University, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay, no, it's no problem. That you can also, that period when you do your application, you got now your BTech, you can apply now for candidate. No problem. You don't have to tell your experience as I showed you on that one slide. You just say you got a BTech and you mark there, and then you can just fill in the form. There's no experience or anything. You send your certified copy of your BTech and you become a candidate technologist, because that's what you want to become
Okay.
at the moment. Then, after you received your BTech, you ensure that you got a minimum of 3 years experience with 1 year at level E of responsibility, where you work with no supervision as if you were registered. Okay.
Okay.
Is that clear up for you now? You're doing
Yes.
electrical, I'm not sure.
I
Not
know water.
Oh, your water. Okay, that's fine.
Yes. Yeah.
All
I
right.
just want to check, do you, because I've also completed masters in civil engineering, do I also have to include that, or it doesn't really matter?
No, the minimum they require to become a candidate is your BTech to become a technologist. So you just get a certified copy of that and you apply for that. And then
Okay,
you'll get that.
thank you.
There's no further problems on that. But then when you apply later, you can say, you've done your master's, that will also count towards your IDP. Okay.
All right, thank you so much, sir. That is clear.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Let's look at the chat. Is that question about designs and only reviewing the designs the question we always answer?
Yeah, if I work for a company where designs are done by consultants, most probably consultants, and I only review these designs, can I register as a professional engineer? Yes, you can, depending if you are working on the complex, the level of a complex, engineering activity. Now, what I mean by that is, if you're checking somebody's designs and you look at the designs and you say, hey, but this design is not correct, are you doing it through engineering judgment and engineering training, or are you just using a checklist to say, if this is done this way, then it must be done that way? Now, what I mean by the reviewing designs is you look at the design, you apply your engineering mind, and you say this design can be done better, and you actually go through that design with your design, and you look at the different options. Then you call the consultant in, because 10 to 1 he over-designed, and you want to make it a bit more economical and easier to construct. Then you discuss it with him and say, these are the things that I think should be changed. But the first thing the consultant will do and say, now, why do you mean that? And they'll become a bit negative towards you. But if you show your design with your calculations, that is also designing while you're reviewing, because you're working with information and certain documentation and that you need. So you can become registered as a professional engineer, technician, technologist, any of those. So you do not have to sit in a design office. Hopefully that answers your question. What else is there?
There's Mpumi. Okay, Mpumi's hand is down.
Yeah, it was a
See.
long hand, that one. Okay, I see there's one. I'm registered as a candidate technician since 2017, but this year I noticed that the fees have increased to be equal to a PR technician or a PR technique. Is this a mistake? No. Why they do that is they give you a certain time frame to become registered. Otherwise, a lot of people in the past, they stayed candidates for year in and year out, and they paid the less fees, and they were telling everybody, I'm a candidate technician, technologist, I can do what I want. Unluckily, it has been changed now. After a certain time frame period, it will be up to a higher fee to ensure that you do start thinking about registration. So there's no mistake in that. Okay, so anything further there?
Any other questions? I think there's some more questions in the chat. If you can please scroll through them, Chris.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Let me just check here. All right, I want to say, okay, I see somebody says registration of candidate engineering technician for free if you have just graduated or diploma. It's not free, you have to pay a fee to register. Okay. Then I see here, how do I structure my organogram for my TR for one of the periods I'm using my M-Eng to register for PR Tech-Eng operations operating at level E. Okay, usually you discuss your people up top of you, then where you stand in the organogram and the person underneath you or the people underneath you. But I'm talking about technical engineering people, not your cleaner, not your tea lady, not your gardener and that. That is not, we talk about that. It's just in a straight line. One thing you must remember about your organogram, please do not use color. Use it pure black and white. Why I say that is, if you're using different colors there, we as assessors, we only receive a fax, or not a fax, I mean, it's been scanned in black and white, and it's very difficult if you have not shown, then we will inquire about it there. Okay, please discuss registration as a PR technologist using portfolio of evidence. Now, your portfolio of evidence, that is your documentation that you're going to fill in, and then your attachments there at the back. You do not show, if you talk about, for instance, your design report, you take 1 or 2 pages or the contents. If you're going to show a design, you show your design calculation, not all of it, just examples. Remember, for technicians, technologists, and engineers, there are only a certain amount of pages that they limit to, for the reason that, excuse me, there is, because we do it voluntary, we work full time, and we do this in our hours, after hours, to go through the assessment. If it becomes too thick, it takes us days on end to go through it, and it's very difficult. So you minimize it and you show example. You don't have to show the full calculations there. Okay, and I'll just say, all right, if I have 3 years of experience in working as a technician but do not have the qualification, can I apply to register as a candidate technician? No. You have to make sure that you've got the right qualification, as what is discussed in these, on this what you call it, on this presentation. Okay, anybody else? I see there's four new messages.
Hi, Chris.
Yes.
I have one question. Is it necessary during the review, during interview, to show the calculations while you do the presentation, just as a guide? I'm just thinking of this 15 minutes to, if is it possible? Maybe I don't want to do something that's gonna make the panel maybe to become bored. So.
Okay, what you do is, and I've seen the guys, and I'm going to give you a bit of a hint. You do your 11 outcomes, and then, you know, like your design, maybe on a little slide there, you show part of a calculation. You know, that is not just bland. You show a picture there of your calculation, and you can say, these are the type of calculation, or this is the type of calculation I did for my design, and then you can show that is there, but you don't go fully, you discuss what your calculation. But remember, one of the hints is when you're going through that, you do it in bullet form, short, sweet, and directly to the point, and technically there. Don't use layman terms, because we're doing peer review. We do this type of work every day. We understand the technology. Another hint I'll give the guys there too is when you're going for an interview, think of it, you're taking, especially with peer review, you're going there, you're discussing your design, and your colleagues, like you're going for lunch, and you're just talking over a cup of coffee while you've got a bit of free time, and you say to them, I did this design, but I've had these problems, and this is how I solved it. And your colleagues will say, but haven't you think about that? Haven't you thought about that? Think of it that way. And you should be able to answer a lot of the questions. Because I'll tell you, we do sit around over a cup of coffee or lunchtime, and then we discuss our designs with our colleagues, and they will tell you, and they will ask you questions, and you'll think. So think of it that way. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Okay, I see there. I'm the Onogram interns and have no people under them. I don't know what they mean by that there. So you've got nobody working, so you're an intern. So that's where you start. So you'll be starting at the level of responsibility A or B. Where the higher you go up, the more responsibility you get. Okay, the next question. I've been a candidate technician from 2000. I do pay the annual fees, but I hold a BTech. Currently doing my master's. I am complete with my report for technician. Just have to submit. Should I attach my BTech on my report? Yes, you do. And you can do that.
A certified copy, not the
Yes.
original.
No. It's all certified copies. It stands there directly. Please, guys and ladies, and all the guys, ladies and guys, please read your document. When you're filling in your engineering report, when you're doing your report, when you're doing your application, there are enough guidelines there to say what you must do. Don't send your originals, so that will disappear. Okay, the B Eng Tech Honors qualifies you to be a candidate engineer? No. Because they look for you. As I discussed in the slides, there are only 3 that they require. And it's all to do with BSc, B-Eng, and then the B-Eng, and then the B-Ing. Those are the 3 that they need. Okay. ECSA wants 8,000 Rand fee application for appeal, and why appeal when it won't change the final outcome? Please discuss. I've discussed that, and I said, you've got 15 people that are working through, unless You are very, very sure about that, but the chances are very, very slim to get the appeal changed, unless all 15 have made a major mistake there. So please, if you haven't gone through for advisory, go to the advisory, listen to what the people are saying there who are doing the advisory, take note of their comments and reapply. It will be less heartbreak than wasting a lot of money. Okay. Will the PowerPoint be shared via email? Not via email. It will be shared on the group that is discussed there. It's just plain. You type in professionalcpd.co.za. You register there, which is for free, and you can go to this presentation. There are other presentations also.
Yeah, what happens is after this meeting, I download this and I send it to Jono. He will edit it and then put it on his website. That is the Professional CPD website. That is why he was part of this discussion earlier, because he's part of our team. And he manages that website, and you can go there and you can look at all the 30 odd previous recordings of discussions that we've had, and it's all for free. But we don't send out single the PowerPoint presentations. We don't send it out to people. You know, as I said, you can go and look at the presentations there.
And another thing I just want to note, we don't charge you for it. That's for free. And there are previous discussions also that are being recorded with slideshows, with all the questions that are asked and that. And you can actually follow that also. And you can download them for free. It's a service that we do. I mean, you and Anne have been doing this now for, what, almost 3 years or just over 3 years, Johan.
Something else I need to mention, Chris, is that the ECSA accreditation, the ECSA identification of engineering work, when that becomes law, then you will have to be registered with ECSA even as a candidate. At the moment, you don't have to be registered as a candidate. That is your choice. A lot of people do not register as a candidate. You don't have to be registered as a candidate to register, to apply for professional status. That is your choice at this stage. I personally not very positive about registering as a candidate, and ECSA is looking at trying to providing you with some more benefits for registering as a candidate, but presently there's not really much benefits from ECSA side by registering as a candidate. From IPET side, you can register, you can be a member of IPET without being a candidate. You just have to be a graduate. You can even only also be a student member. Student membership is free. The membership fee for candidates and professionals are the same. If you're a professional, you get a discount from ECSA that is more than your annual IPET fee. If you are a candidate, you also get a discount from ECSA, but it is not as much as when you're a professional. But then what you get for being an IPET member is you get these all these for free, and we will try and advise you, if possible, again for free, if you have specific questions and specific problems. IPET looks after the matters for professional engineering technologists, and, well, not only professionals, for engineering technologists. We're the only organization that's solely for technologists. We We don't represent other people than technologists, although you may be a member if you like. You can be a technician, you can be a member, you can be an engineer, you can be a member, you can be a certificated engineer, you can be a member. You're welcome. But we try and have our membership fee to be affordable. We are much more affordable than a lot of the other professional associations like or institutes. I'm not going to name any at the moment, but our fee is around 650 Rand, where some of the others are 3,000 and 4,000 Rand a year. And that is, and our CPD is also more affordable. We try and keep our CPD for one CPD point. We keep it under 1,000 Rand for members. Obviously, non-members pay double. So it pays you to be an IPET member. Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Yeah, there's just one here on the chat group. Can you please repeat where we can get this presentation? I've actually put it on the group again. It's actually at, you don't write www, it's just basically it's professionalcpd.co.za, and you register on that website. It's for free. It's actually a service that IPET does for everybody. And another thing too is go through, relax when you're going through your documentation. And if you've got any questions, you go and if you registered with a group on our different groups, somebody will answer the question for you. And please don't write there, like one person wrote, can you send me a master so that I can do my presentation? Then you're not even on the level of a technologist. If you're looking for a master layout for your presentation to become registered, what we look for is your individuality, to see that you are there, because each person will see something different. Okay. I see is asking, can you please redirect on how to register as a candidate for ECSA? Please, when this slide is downloaded, this presentation, you can get it, will be sometime next week, and then you can have a look at it. Okay.
How to register as a candidate? You go and you download the form from the ECSA website. You fill it in, you add your qualification, a copy of your qualification, and you submit it. That's all. Oh, and you pay your money. ECSA actually wants you to pay money.
There's
it's
nothing
not for free.
There. Okay. I don't see there's any other questions, Johan.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. As said before, this is a service brought to you by the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists. You're welcome to become a member, a student member, a graduate member, professional member if you're registered. And even if you're a technician or an engineer, you're welcome to become a member. There are facilities for you there. Our membership fee is 650 Rand a year. And it's at www.ipet.org.za. Thank you, and have a good night. Keep warm. Chris, thanks a lot for your input tonight. You did a great job here, and it's a pleasure doing this with you. And thank you, everybody. We're going to end this session now.